We know rule of thumb is rotation before linear. You always see people doing sleepers from this position. You see people doing external rotation here. You see people doing external rotation here. But that logic should be extended in that we need capsule rotation up in the zone of flexion, right? And we can have rotation here all day, but if we get like above parallel of our shoulder and we come up here and we can't rotate, then by definition, you're gonna lack the ability to have linear movement into flexion, right? So what you're typically doing with clients is here, fine, has application. But the idea is that if we wanted more overhead space, we have to either go up this way, go up further, and if they couldn't manage this, then we start where they can manage. For you, because you're super mobile, we're gonna put it up towards your ear, and we're gonna have you doing PAILs and rails from this position, but we have to make sure we're finding the right tissue engagement because of how deep into that range of motion it is, okay? So let's get you into the sleeper, but with yourself in flexion. And so what we're gonna do is have your elbow up by your ear with your head on the block like that. And so we're bent at 90 degrees. If we're with a client, right, because us and clients are two very different things, always communicating that we get no front side restriction. Let's see what your active range of motion is, where you would come down. Right about there, okay? That's your active internal rotation. What I'm gonna do is pull you into the passive stretch, and we'll talk about it and see what you feel from there. So this is your active. I'm gonna lightly press down and pivot your elbow. Do you feel a stretch in the back/top side of your shoulder? And if you don't, then I will adjust you and hopefully find it from there.
Not immediately.
What if I pull you in and then rotate like this?
A little bit closer.
Okay. Take a big deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth, and let's see if we can find open side stretching a little bit deeper. Top, back side at all there?
No.
None? What if I asked you to tilt away? Better, worse, or no different?
A little bit closer.
Okay, we're gonna start there for a minute. Do you have any closing side restriction?
No.
Okay, so you have no closing side restriction. I'm inclined to think you'll feel backside capsule as we stimulate a little bit more.
Yeah.
So that's where communicating is super important. With specifically internal rotation, getting pinching is more common than external, right? Like no one really pinches an external rotation, they pinch an internal rotation.
Okay.
So if you have closing side pinching, then we would have to bring your arm down so that instead of your arm being up here, you would bring your arm to like, let's say theoretically, like this. Okay. Does that make sense? Like if someone couldn't manage full overhead flexion, you would break the difference between a standard sleeper being here and a flexion sleeper being up here. Okay. Does that make sense? So you see how there's like zones to internal rotation. So you're normally here, we're putting you here, but in a perfect world, you'd be all the way up here, depending on what you or the client can manage. For the sake of the video and for the sake of your understanding, we're gonna go as deep as you can manage, and then I'll let you kind of play with it on your own time, right, and practice it with clients and stuff. So you have the passive stretch, open side stretch, top side stretch. At minimum, no closing side restriction. Okay, so your PAIL is you trying to externally rotate your humerus, your upper arm, right? So you're in this position, you're trying to rotate externally. So what I want you to do is start driving your fist up into my hand. Do you feel backside capsule firing there?
No.
What do you feel firing then?
Right now I'm getting kind of like a rib area.
Okay, go ahead and let's start up here. Now press into me.
A little bit more now.
Okay, so just try to find more. So your job is to try to contract the backside of your shoulder as you press into me as best as you can. There's a concept called MVC, maximum voluntary contraction. That concept resonated a lot with me. I want you to think, what level of MVC do you have in your posterior capsule right now? Like you're telling me you don't feel a whole lot of contraction. You feel rib stuff, you might feel neck stuff, you feel other tissue firing. So your MVC and IR flexion is pretty low, right? You don't have the ability to voluntarily contract very intensely, right? Very intentionally. So I want you to work on ramping that up. I want you contracting your upper arm, right? So you're squeezing your bicep and tricep. You're trying to externally rotate. You're shaking quite a bit as you push into me. We're gonna use that as a compass. For the people in the video, you'll see that his wrist is shaking quite a bit as he's generating tension. And typically speaking, we would say that's uncharted territory, and that's an area that we're trying to train and stimulate. And then the rail would be trying to pull away from my hand. So go ahead and drive down. and try to find front side capsule. You see how much you're shaking there? Keep driving away from me, and you're just trying to internally rotate deeper. This bone is going inward towards the yoga block. We see how much we're shaking there. So although you might not be feeling a whole lot, all we're trying to do is stimulate the capsule in that space, right? So like right now, feeling everything perfectly is not the objective, I don't think. I think the objective is a decent quality stimulus, maybe not the highest of quality, with no pinching. That's the key. Go ahead and relax. So we're gonna do another PAIL to see if we can find a little bit more. So take a big deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth, and go ahead and push upward against me again. And as you push upward against me, for the people in the video, the detail matters quite a bit. Rotating his elbow inward or outward, a bit of pronation, supination, not end range stuff, just mid range, helps with finding the right engagement on the posterior capsule. Be able to find a little bit more backside shoulder there as you press here and we spend some time.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit more, even if it's marginal. That rotation helps for you. Okay, and so if that helps for you and your bone structure, fine. My arms are longer than yours. Your clients might be shorter than yours, or longer or the same. It depends on the bone structure, okay? So I want you to give thought to that, where if someone's in a flexion sleeper and they're not feeling anything, before you go adjusting the entire setup, adjust from here, adjust from there, feel the variability here, feel the variability there. You see how these are like really not big details. Like if someone walked past us, they would say you're doing the exact same exercise, but we're targeting different tissue because the leverage on the moment arm is different. Go ahead and begin PAILing again, push up against me. Do whatever rotation felt good to you. So if you like that, a bit of that supination as you push up, then that's fine. Whatever works for you. And if that helps you find posterior capsule, then cool, we'll run with that. Keep dialing that up. I'm gonna give you 20 seconds and then you're gonna rail again. And then we'll do your other side and kind of compare the two.
Now I'm getting more.
You're finding more, right? So as you sit here, we're starting to kind of turn it on and ramp it up. If you want to keep going, you got 10 seconds. I won't cut you short. If you want to keep going and just keep finding capsule, I'll let you keep going and finding capsule.
Like a little bit longer, yeah.
You'll go a little bit longer? Okay, so you're at 30 seconds. How about we go for a minute? Keep going, push against me. And for the people in the videos, watching the video, again, he's contracting harder. I feel him pushing up into my hand more deliberately, and we see he's shaking more. So the idea is that that tissue is fairly unresponsive because he has the inability to contract the backside shoulder in a stretched, lengthened position. And now the nervous system, we would say the neurology is connecting to the biology. We need more afference, the ability to feel sensation in the tissue so we can have more productive training. Go ahead and see if you can ramp that up for like another 10, 9, 8, 7, very good. 6, you still got backside, topside shoulder. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, reverse. Contract your bicep, tricep. Internally rotate. Can you shift the tension from the back side of the shoulder to the front side? Your pec, your front delt, anything on the closing side right here, like between the yoga block and your chest. Can you squeeze your pec here? Can you squeeze your front delt anymore? And you see how much we're shaking there? Keep holding it. We're gonna hold you there for 25 seconds, and your job is just to internally rotate as deep as we can, as hard as we can. Creating as much tension as you can. You're increasing your MVC. You see how much more you can voluntarily contract. That is the objective here. You got 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax, don't move a thing. So the next part is you're gonna axial rotate. So I want you, again, squeezing bicep, tricep, contract, and then you're gonna go through IR and ER as axial rotating. So you're gonna externally rotate, keep squeezing though, create tension, irradiate, go all the way to end range external rotation while you're in flexion. Good, that elbow stays pivoted, keep running away from my hand. You see how much we're shaking there, keep going, keep pulling away, keep pulling away, keep pulling away. And now internally rotate and get your fist to the floor. But feel the inside, the front side of the shoulder, right? Feel front side shoulder contracting, feel pec contracting. More, more, more. And now externally rotate again, but find posterior capsule. So keep contracting though. You're not losing that tension through that transition, right? You're continuously creating tension. Keep squeezing, keep that elbow pivoted. Find posterior capsule there. Do you feel that tension shift? And now keep contracting, irradiate. Now internally rotate again. Feel that humerus internally rotating. Now find front side capsule engaging. One more rep both directions, then we'll switch sides. Beautiful. Nice, nice, nice. All at the humerus, man. Don't let anything else move. External, external. Think about wrist behind elbow. Come on, pull away from my hand. And now internally rotate one last time. Beautiful. Keep going, keep going, keep going. And relax. Make sense? So that was your bad side, correct? Okay, take a second. We'll let it cool off. We're gonna go to your good side afterwards, compare the two, and I want you to think about when we do the next side, how much more responsive your good side is, right? How much quicker does it pick up what we're putting down? Okay, I'm gonna give you a minute. How about you do a couple shoulder cars, loosen that up. So same deal, ear on the block, arm in the overhead position. We're gonna do the exact same thing. So your arm is bent to 90 degrees. The elbow is up towards the ear in flexion, the overhead position. And we're gonna find your active range. So go ahead and come down right about there. So you see how much more active IR you have on your right side than your left, right? Your left side went to like up to here. You almost had like a whole fist length difference. So the amount of stimuli we have to give you here is probably gonna be less, and that's okay, right? Like we should be training asymmetrically in that regard. For the sake of just matching the other side, do we have any backside stretch, topside stretch here?
A little bit.
A little bit, nothing crazy?
No.
Okay, and you're not tight. But I like the idea of you finding that stretch because that will help initiate the contraction. Right? Like once you find the lengthened tissue, it's a lot easier to contract that lengthened tissue rather than skipping the stretch. It's hard to find the contraction if we skip the stretch. Okay. So because you're not tight, we're gonna skip the passive stretch. We're gonna go straight into isometrics. So what I want you doing again is the PAIL. You're gonna drive your fist up into my hand. I want you squeezing your bicep and tricep. Do you feel the back side of your shoulder capsule contracting in an effort to push against me?
Yes.
You see how much quicker that responded?
Yeah.
So you feel backside capsule?
Yeah.
We're gonna let this burn for another 30 seconds just for the sake of time because you get what we're trying to get across here. Keep pushing. You got 20 seconds. See if you can ramp it up any more. Beautiful. And remember, you can rotate the elbow a little bit if you feel like that gives you a better contraction. That's kind of on you to feel out. And that might be different from this side versus the other side. That's okay too. Don't lose me. You got 10, harder, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax, don't move a thing. And now the reverse, I want you to rail by tensing the upper arm, right? You're squeezing bicep, tricep, pull away from me and internally rotate deeper. Beautiful, you see how easy that was to actually rail and drive down to the floor, getting deeper into the range of motion? Do you feel the pec slash front delt contracting? So you'd be looking for front side stuff, right? Like up behind this yoga block right here. For the people watching the video, it would be front delt, clavicular pec stuff that your chest attaches to your collarbone. And he's just trying to internally rotate deeper while squeezing all that tissue on the front side of his shoulder. You got 10 seconds, and then we're gonna axial rotate. Nice, nice, squeeze, 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 and relax. Make sense? So we did the sleeper to prime IR inflection. We're gonna do another drill to prime ER inflection, and then we're gonna load the linear movement as well. So rotational stuff comes first, IR, then ER, and then we'll do linear afterward. Let's get a couple shoulder cars going, get that moving. I'm gonna get you set up for that, and we'll take a brief intermission. We did IR inflection, we're gonna do ER inflection, okay? The setup we're gonna use, let me have you step to the side for a second. This will be for your knees. What we're gonna use is my mobility stick here with a box. You could do external rotation PAILs from here, but we're gonna have you like up overhead, okay? So the concept would be that you're gonna be almost in like a prayer stretch, but I want you creeping elbows in, wrists outside of elbows, right? So right now, I'm trying to find a stretch. My right side, I have a harder time finding it because I'm not tight. I'm gonna creep this left side out more. Okay, if my hands are here, I'm not actually externally rotated. So creep it out, I pivot my elbows down. I'm gonna bring my torso down so that I'm ultimately in this position, right? Because I could sit here, but this isn't flexion. So elbows tucked, I'm gonna scoot back and lean forward. From there, depending on what you feel, will dictate whether we sit in the passive stretch or we work on isometrics from there. Okay, I'm gonna communicate with you and see what kind of feedback we get. Make sense? Got it. Let's see it. So think wrists outside of elbows, creep the hands out as far as you can. And for the people watching the video, This alignment right here is what we're looking for to ensure that he's actually in external rotation. I want the head down, basically touching the box to ensure that you're in flexion. Do we have any stretch on our capsule through here? You do. Is it worthy?
Yes.
You have enough of a stretch to make it worth your while?
Yes.
Okay. Take a big deep breath into that. I'm gonna put you on a timer for a bit, let this open up. If you want to get more of a stretch, you have two options. This has to stay completely still. We can tuck our elbows inward more, or we can bring our wrists outward more, right? Changing the relationship between the wrist and the elbow. If you have a quality stretch and you like it, cool, stay with it. Some people would say wrists will give them more of a stretch, or not, just something to tinker with. But ultimately what's gonna matter is the relationship between the elbow and the wrist. I'm gonna let you sit here for like another 45 seconds of stretching, and then I'm gonna cue you from there for your isometrics, and we're gonna contract lengthened tissue for your PAIL. Breathe into that, keep thinking elbows in, just let that pull apart. Get some high quality lengthened stimulus. You got 15 seconds, and we'll begin our isometric. This is one of those drills that typically would be a little bit harder to find the stretch on, but that doesn't mean we don't spend time there, and if you have a high quality stretch, then kind of run with that. So we're at the 90-second mark. The PAIL. It's important that this all stays totally still. What I'm gonna ask you to do is squeeze the bicep and tricep, you're contracting, and now think about internally rotating by driving your fists together, but you can't because they're anchored on the block. Does that make sense? So you're looking to internally rotate your upper arm while it's in the externally rotated position, but the pole is anchoring you down. So if I was to be here and I'm trying to pull you apart, do you feel the front side of your shoulder, pec, biceps, any front side tissue engaging as you push against me?
Yes.
Good. So keep thinking internal rotation. The isometric is being controlled by the stick. I'm gonna put you on the timer and we're gonna let that burn for a minute. You're doing an awesome job maintaining neutrality through the thoracic and cervical spine. The elbows and wrists aren't actually moving, right? So if someone were to walk past us, it doesn't look like anything's actually going on. But if you're pushing inward like this, contract, push against me, I'm giving you more feedback. There's a lot of tension being driven in our capsule in the overhead position. You got 8, dial it up, 7, 6, 5, 4, give me more, 3, 2, 1, relax, don't move a thing. So that was the PAIL, right? You contracted lengthened tissue, which would be your front side shoulder. Now the rail. You're not actually gonna move here technically. I want you to think, can I externally rotate further? And think wrists outside of elbows. Can you find posterior capsule contracting as you try to externally rotate here? So you can think elbows inward or wrists out, or a combination of both in an effort to find the backside of our shoulder. Are we able to find backside shoulder here? Think about trying to run away from me. If you have a hard time with it, then that's something that we need to work on. Keep running away from me and relax, don't move a thing. We're gonna do another round, okay, in an effort to reinforce this stuff. So think elbows in a little bit more. Bring your elbows up closer to your head. And now think wrists out more. Yes, and you can use the pole to kind of creep your wrists across, right? Let's flex the wrist, get neutrality in the spine. Do you have a passive stretch again?
Yeah.
You found a stretch?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go ahead and go immediately into another isometric with a higher level of intensity. So let's have you give me 50% of you internally rotating, trying to contract against the pole, right? You're jamming your fists together. We feel front side shoulder, pec engaging. The arms are contracted. There's a lot of tension in the upper arm. And I'm pushing out against you and you're driving inward, trying to produce as much force as you can. Go ahead and try to give me another 30 seconds, but ramp it up a little bit more. I want 60, 70% or so. I'm gonna give you a little bit more feedback. Keep pushing against me. Slowly ramp it up to your safest, greatest effort. I want 100% effort. Ready? Set, everything you got. Irradiate tension, tense the core, wrists together, drive everything together. You got 10, 9, more at the wrist, 8, give me more at the wrist, 7, 6, 5, more, 4, there you go, 3, 2, 1, relax, don't move a thing. Now the reverse. Pull your wrists away from my hands, try to. Think wrists outside of elbows. elbows inside of wrists. You're contracting and externally rotating deeper, and I want you feeling posterior shoulder capsule in an effort to rail. Hold it, wrists outside of elbows. I'm gonna give you 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, do not move, keep going. I'm taking the pole, let go of the pole, wrists out, wrists outside of elbows. Drive the wrists out, drive the wrists out. Beautiful, hold it, run away from my hand. Run away from my hand, drive them out more, externally rotate, man, come on, hold it. Pull away from me, 5, 4, especially this one, 3, 2, 1. Can you see how that right side had a much harder time getting some ER there? And you're shaking and you're contracting, but we don't have as much space in that right side. And so the idea is that the IR sleeper, the flexion sleeper rather, creates more space. This creates space in the opposite direction. Then when we go into flexion, things will just move a little bit smoother. Hard, right? And if it's hard to find, then that's like part of what we need to work on too. It's not just doing it, it's getting a higher quality stimulus, right? The higher quality of input, the better the output. And the details, everything in that, okay? Let's get some shoulder cars going again, get some good movement, a little intermission, and then we're gonna go to flexion. We went ahead and did rotational stuff in flexion, right? The primer capsule, IR sleeper, flexion sleeper, and then ER in flexion. We're gonna eccentrically load shoulder flexion, but in a linear fashion. So you're gonna use a slider and basically do a pull over eccentric. Our goal is to lengthen lat serratus anterior stuff, okay? All open side. If you get closing side, just speak up, let me know. I have 2 different sliders here. I don't really care which one you use. I'm gonna use this one because I like the roundness of it. But the goal here is we are going to be pushing down into the ground. And as I extend my arm, you see how much I'm shaking already? And I am feeling lat serratus contract all the way until the end point. And then I'm gonna reset. And so we're using the slider as a way to ease us into shoulder flexion, eccentric loading. I'm not just sliding out as fast as I can. That's not the objective. The objective is to eccentrically load anterior tissue, right? Front side tissue. So a couple cues is to push down or back as the slider goes. So I kind of want you thinking this motion. Think like a dumbbell pullover, right? And that's another way to train flexion. This is just another tool in your tool belt, basically. So we're in quadruped. This hand is your kind of your ejection seat to kind of get out of the exercise if you need to. We're gonna load. You could do IR and ER bias if you want. Maintain flexion. I feel my lat and serratus contracting, contracting, contracting. Once I'm at my end point, come back up, okay? Everything's still. This is just to help take body weight off, right? Like you could technically do this without your knees on the ground, but that's so much body weight that it would be really, really difficult. So what I want you to do is slowly let the slider come out, arms stay straight. I want your hips kind of extending forward with you. Can you find serratus lat stuff engaging? Think about pressing into me as the slider goes forward. Do you see what we're doing there? You're trying to find all this open side stuff as the arm is going into shoulder flexion. And resist until you get to end range. Keep resisting, and once you find end range, this hand's gonna help you get out of it. Boom, reset. Let's do like a set of 5 there, and then we'll do the other arm, and you can compare and contrast. I like the idea of you doing 3 reps linear, and then maybe 1 rep external, 1 rep internal, where you're doing a little bit of bias with one way or the other, okay? So you can add layers to this, right? Create more specificity in what we're targeting. So same deal, right hand off the ground. Begin letting the slider slide forward, but think about driving into me as you do that. Can you find a contraction on your lat serratus anterior, all front side, open side stuff? Keep pushing into me, keep pushing into me. You're resisting into the ground as the arm goes in the overhead position. You can keep extending your hips, yep, keep pressing against me. Resist with this tissue, keep resisting, keep resisting, keep resisting. Straighten the arm, straighten the arm, straighten the arm overhead, reset. That's okay, it's hard. It's hard when you get to end range, and it's super easy just to let yourself slide, but can you be very deliberate in contracting this as you slide? It's 2 different things, right? So, same deal. Beautiful, everything starts sliding forward, start driving back, create tension, create tension, create tension. Lat, serratus anterior, keep contracting, resist it, resist it, resist it. Keep the elbow straight, and eject out of it. Okay, so that was fairly linear with no bias to IR, ER. Let's have you bias one or the other for a rep so you can kind of just feel the difference in the technicalities of that. And then we'll switch to the other one and then do the other arm. So same deal, internal rotation of the humerus. We're trying to feel open side stuff, the serratus anterior, the lat. We're trying to contract forward, pull it in as you go, pull it in, keep going, resist, 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 don't let momentum win, keep pushing against me, keep going, boom. Good. One more.
Same internal?
Yeah, man. Let's do externals. Yeah, so we did 3 neutral, 1 IR, 1 ER, so you kind of get a taste of it all. So again, we now have external rotation here. The spine staying totally neutral. The arms sliding forward. We're trying to contract front side stuff. Resist it, drive back, resist. So that ER is a whole lot weaker than the IR stuff. If it's so weak that it's unproductive, then just work on practicing that, and then eventually we'll ease into a little bit more ER specifically. All right, other arm. So neutral, the arm is straight. Are you able to find serratus anterior lat on this side? Yeah, good. More lat. So any open side stuff, remember bioflow, right? So there isn't one muscle we're trying to target, it's a region of tissue. So keep contracting, think about pushing that against me, push against me, and slowly let the slider come forward. Come on, keep going. Resist it, feel this stuff lengthening, don't lose it. Further, man, come on, keep contracting till the elbow gets to the ear. And reset, beautiful. Rep 1, yeah, you got 3 more or 2 more here, and then we'll do IR, ER bias. Let's open up your hand too. Yeah, really splay everything. Awesome, so we're trying to find all open side serratus lat stuff. We're trying to maintain the positioning of the torso as the arm comes up to the ear position. His finishing position should be with his elbow in line with his ear. That's what we're trying to achieve while still contracting that. One more. This side's a lot harder, isn't it?
I feel more.
You feel more? Turns on quicker?
Yeah.
All right, same deal, and then you'll do some IR bias. So again, this is staying fixed as you slide out. The arm is slowly coming up towards the ear to resist. Keep contracting all this stuff. Drive back, keep driving back, resist it all the way, man. Take your time, keep going. Some IR bias, and then ER bias, and we'll wrap it up. Nice. Keep going. Find all open side stuff. Man. Come on. Take your time. Reach. One more. Beautiful. All open side stuff again. The last round with external rotation of the humerus as opposed to internal or neutral. So that side's weak there too when you're in ER and eccentrically loading it. Make sense? So to kind of put the whole thing together, we did capsule stuff overhead, and the idea is that facilitated more range as you eccentrically load into flexion. It would not make sense logically to do this first, right? We prime capsule tissue, the deepest stuff, and then worked our way out to more superficial surface level tissue, and that would be our finisher.
I like it, good.
Make sense? And then we would finish you off with some really good quality shoulder cars, but with the shoulder car drilling flexion and that rotation, right? Because that's your sticking point for what we did today, right? If someone had an extension sticking point, that would be their focus, right? So if we're doing shoulder cars to finish it off, tensing the arm, finding flexion, IR, and then finding ER as we come into flexion the opposite direction. Do you have any questions on the flexion sleeper, the ER flexion drill with the pole, pails and rails there, or eccentrically loading flexion with a slider?
No.
That was good. You're sweating a lot from that.
Yeah.
No, that was good. You needed that.